right, people, let's get this fucking party started because Connor's going to be doing some filming today. So we're going to get this show started right away. But I want to show you guys a cool picture. I think this is a cool picture. After watching movies like Elvis and all that, you really learn how people were crazy on how people react with music, about devil's music for their kids. And I look at myself like, I got a picture when I took my son and my nephew to a Social Distortion concert. This is what they looked like before the concert.
Yes. They fit right in with the band, man.
And when I watch these movies where like people were so crazy they're gonna affect their kids, I'm looking at myself like, man, I love showing my kids the music, rock and roll, punk rock, and all that. It's music doesn't make the person bad. It's when you keep saying something that is bad that you're programming their minds to think differently. Otherwise, everybody would just enjoy the music and the stuff, not even think about, is that the devil's music? Nah. So I just found this picture when I was digging through. I thought you guys might enjoy it. The band that we were seeing was Social Distortion. I take my kids. Actually, my kid went on stage with Mike Ness of Social D in Portland, Oregon show. So that's always fun. But beyond that, guys, man, we're gonna get right into it today.
I'm just gonna say bye, guys. Mitch is here now, and it is time to film day one of a new horror film. It's gonna be next level. Have a magical day, everybody. Peace out, Eric.
See ya. All right, guys. All right, we're gonna get into some vampires. Okay. Now, the first one that I'm going to show you is just basically the overall myth and folklore of vampires. And then we're going to get into some origin stories of vampires. So here's the first video. Let's take a look.
The vampires are scary creatures, famous for feeding off the blood of their victims. The creature can be depicted in different ways. In some, the vampire is seen as bestial, or as an undead being, but the creature can also be represented as fascinating and seductive. The figure of this monster is found in deeply ancient cultures, being part of several Aztec, African, and Asian myths. The Greek mythology has the Impusus, demonic spectra, and daughters of Hecate. These demons were very seductive and attracted beautiful men to their beds, and then they fed off of their blood. But medieval Europe was the era when vampires became popular. In the Balkan region, there were rumors that these creatures terrorized the region, causing panic. These reports spread throughout Europe, reaching England and the Iberian Peninsula. The panic settled in Hungary, particularly in the region of Transylvania, a territory nowadays part of Romania. The vampires were identified as the undead who left their graves during the night to feed on the blood of humans or animals. Many started to exhume corpses suspected of being vampires. They had their hearts pierced by stakes and were beheaded. However, after these panic outbreaks, many still feared the existence of vampires. The vampires are beings with many powers. Among them is the power of metamorphosis. The creature can change its shape, bat-shaped being one of its trademarks. The vampires also have hypnotic powers, which make them more capable of seducing their victims, in addition to being described as having an inhuman strength. But the vampires also have their weaknesses. According to different beliefs, vampires are repelled by garlic, holy water, and crucifixes, but nothing repels more a vampire than sunlight. Therefore, due to the absence of light, caskets are the ideal places for vampires to hide during the day. At the end of the 19th century, the vampire was immortalized in Bram Stoker's Dracula. The author was inspired by the stories involving the cruel Romanian prince known as Vlad the Impaler, thus creating his iconic character, Count Dracula. The fascination for the creature grew steadily in the following years. Several movies began to make use of the figure of vampires, among them Nosferatu in 1922, Dracula in 1931, and several others. More recently, we can mention movies like Interview with a Vampire and the movie series Twilight. Whether as dreadful monsters or young, beautiful, and sensual creatures, the vampires continue to instill fear and fascination.
Right. Okay, so that's basically just an overall kind of the vampire, but there's different stories throughout history about who was the true vampire, who was the first vampire, the different folklore story. And here's the one that I never knew too much about. And what I'm talking about is actually the title of the show, Judas Iscariot. The Judas Iscariot, famous with Jesus Christ. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna play the video so you guys kind of understand where this video is coming from about Judas, Jesus Christ's friend. So let's just get into it.
The vampire. We all know them. We've all seen or read at least one thing about them. But what is our origin? One of the largest debated theories of all the myths and legends. This is one. Judas Iscariot. We all know the story of him betraying Jesus for the 20 pieces of silver. But what we are not told is the second half of the story. There is a legend among the Hebrew people taken from the book of Matthew of a curse placed upon him by God as penance for his betrayal of Jesus. The story takes place the night after Jesus' crucifixion. Now, Judas, after seeing what he had done, tried to give back the silver to the holy men, but they refused. Judas pleaded with them, but got the same reply, no. To which he replied in kind by flinging the silver to the floor and exited. Later that night, Judas had decided there was only one thing he could do: to take his own life. Death by hanging. So that is what he did. He found a tree, tied a rope, and hung from that tree. But God would not allow this. So he resurrected him and told him these few things. Death will not be your relief, nor will the sun's rays. The silver that you betrayed my son for will now burn, a painful reminder of what you did. Water will never cross your lips again. The only thing that will is the blood of the innocent. But this will be a hunger that will never be extinguished. I know you will have many offspring, but they will bear the same curse as you. Now, the interesting thing about the story is the tree he hung himself from. The tree was an elder tree, which to this day has two names: Elder and Judas. Also, in the older vampire legends, wooden stakes do not affect them, but only silver. If you liked that story, then...
Alright, so what do you guys think of that? Was Judas, God, whatever his name is, was Judas Iscariot the actual first vampire? And I'm looking him up because I was interested in this. Let me share the screen for a second. Let me bring it over here for a second. What it says here is, hold on, let me bring it up for you guys. Who is the first vampire? The first true vampire came into being after Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. Judas hung himself from an aspen tree, but God cursed Judas, so to walk the land forever with insatiable bloodlust, turning him into the original vampire. Now, I am not a religious person. I'll tell you that right now. Even though my grandpa was a minister in a church, but I'm not going to pretend to sit here and tell you I know a whole lot about the Judas story, about the betrayal of Jesus. I know some facts. He betrayed him, but so in a way, if there is some truth to this, I guess you could say that, Jesus Christ, who's the Son of God, used their powers and turned somebody into a vampire zombie to walk the earth forever. So it's interesting, right? So in a way, I'm just saying, if you're a religious person, so in somewhat, do you feel that you kind of have to take the vampire story a little bit more seriously, since technically Jesus made a person into a vampire to curse him? I mean, beyond him walking the earth as a vampire, according to what I'm reading, that God cursed Judas. He cursed him. So he was cursed. So it kind of makes the voodoo stuff be all real about curse, because in the religion world, the curse started with God, right? Jesus Christ, for money. Started with money. Everybody was hungry for money. It's a very interesting style, and maybe there is a movie. It'd be kind of a interesting kind of a movie, right? To see kind of a movie based around Judas Iscariot turning into a vampire. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Like a cool little vampire kind of horror movie. I mean, they always make vampire movies, but I don't know if I've really seen any vampire movies that's supposed to be Judas Iscariot. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be freaking bitching. That's what I think. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that story of Judas. If you guys never heard that, one of the claims of the first vampire is Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. Then he hung himself on an aspen tree, and God cursed him to walk the land forever with an insatiable bloodlust, turning him into the original vampire. It's kind of interesting. It is. It really is interesting, because in theory, I'm not a religious person. I don't want to get into a religious battle with somebody, but that's kind of mean of God to make somebody to walk the earth forever, lusting for blood. I mean, shouldn't you just send him to hell, directly to hell? It makes me feel like, oh, wonder we have all this hell on earth, people dying from this and that. There's precedents for it. If you're into the religious world, I'm not here saying you are or you're not, but it is, to me, a very interesting story. All right. So the next story was Jure Grando, the first reported case of a real vampire. Was he the first case? But technically, I guess you would say, Judas Iscariot was the first case. But let's hear this one, the story that we kind of know.
If you like, or maybe you have something to say, then please leave a comment. Don't forget to return next week. I've been your host on Mythology Lives.
Oh, hold on.
The Vampire.
That's the wrong one. My bad.
16 years, a Croatian village was terrorized by the first person on historical record to be described as a vampire. I'm Paul, and again, on behalf of Graveyard Shift, this is the story of the first real-life vampire. Jure Grando died in 1656 in the small village of Kringa in Istria, which is modern-day Croatia. Legend has it that for the 16 years following his death, once the sun went down, he would rise from his grave and knock on the villagers' doors. And someone from those houses would die within the next few days. He would then visit his widow and, according to the legend, would rape her. She described his corpse as though he were smiling and gasping for breath at the same time. Now, the priest, Giorgio, who had buried him 16 years earlier, searched the streets looking for Grando, who the villagers called a strigoi, which meant warlock or vampire. Now, he eventually found him. Giorgio held out his cross at arm's length and in the name of Jesus Christ banished him. Grando fled, but he was not deterred.
And let me just go back for a second. Vampire and the word warlock. I feel like I'm having a major Mandela effect on the word warlock, because I always thought the word warlock was mostly meant for a male witch. I don't know where I've been, under a rock or something. I never really heard the word warlock be used with the vampire. I could have sworn warlock was only used as a male witch. You know, you have a female witch, and the male witch is considered a warlock. So I'm not saying it's a Mandela effect, guys, but I never really heard a vampire being used as the word warlock. But hey, you know, I learn something every day, and I must have been slipping under a rock for some reason, never hearing that.
Some of the villagers took courage. Miho Raditic confronted Grando with a hawthorn stick, deadly to demons in Croatian folklore, to drive into his heart, but it only bounced off his chest. The next night, 9 of the villagers went to the graveyard and dug up his coffin. What they found was a perfectly preserved corpse with a smile on its face. Again, they tried to pierce his heart with a hawthorn stick, but it wouldn't penetrate the skin. The priest attempted an exorcism, while another villager, Stepan Malazic, sawed off the corpse's head. Blood ruptured from the crevice, and the vampire screamed. It is then said that peace was restored to the village. I'm Paul on behalf of Graveyard Shift, and this has been a story of the first real instance of a vampire documented in recorded history.
Oh, that's apparently first recorded, but what I'm learning is Judas. I'm trying to look at what is a warlock vampire, because I'm still curious on that one. Here, I'm going to share the screen for a second, and let's get into it for a second. This is what it says. What is a warlock vampire? The vampire warlock saturates itself in its own blood, causing 20 poison damage to itself. Sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons game, right? For a minute, its armor class increased to 20, and its unarmed strike and bite attacks do an additional 7 poison damage. That is a Dungeons and Dragons, right? Are there vampire warlocks and Vampire Diaries? None. Okay. Can a vampire be a patron? What? Okay. All right. What is a warlock in the originals? Numbers warlock was a witch who went from another fellow witch to retrieve the medieval knife. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. Oh, let me. Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that video, because I do have. We're going with vampire theme today, guys. I got another video called the top 5 real vampires. So the next video is going to show 5 different vampires. But before I show that, on Danny Station's channel, Danny, he's got his new channel called hold on a second. This is on the Daily Beast. Danny's got another channel now called the Daily Beast. He's got a picture of this Bigfoot. Kind of looks like a vampire. That's why I thought I showed this. This is on the Daily Beast's channel, Danny Staton. And, you know, it could be a dog man. But what if that's not a dog man? What if that's a vampire? I thought it was so interesting, that shadow. Because it's a very dark black shadow. And I get it. You take pictures, you're filming, you'll get shadows within the forest. But it's kind of neat how a shadow is the shape of a thing. And it looks, and he call it Dogman the Shadow. But what if that's Vampire the Shadow? You know, just saying. All right. So the next video I'm going to show is the top 5 real life vampires. So let's check this out. And I'm sure, guys, I am sure in the chat, I got to be positive. In the top 5, there's got to be 2 slots for Joe Biden and Donald Trump, right? Those two got to be vampires, right? There's no way they look that ugly and old and they're still alive. So those two gotta be vampires. So I'm sure in the top 5, we're gonna see Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Let's see.
The evidence supporting the existence of vampires had always existed in our society, but do they really exist?
That's the question, right?
Top 5 real-life vampires. Number 5. Highgate Vampire. In early 1970, the local newspaper, the Hampstead and Highgate Express, spread hearsay that a vampire described as a tall man in a hat, dark figure with piercing hypnotic eyes was witnessed in Highgate Cemetery, London. David Farrant along with Bishop Sean Manchester discovered startling evidence of vampire attacks in Highgate Cemetery. Later Manchester claimed that he exorcised and destroyed the whole nest of vampires in the area. Number 4. Mercy Brown Vampire Incident. The members of Brown family died in a series, first mother followed by the eldest daughter and then a younger sister Mercy by tuberculosis in 19th century. After 2-month brother Edwin became sick and it was believed that one of the dead family member was a vampire and had caused Edwin's illness. While villagers exhumed the bodies, found that Mercy's body was unchanged, her hair and nails were grew. Mercy's heart was removed from her body, burned to ashes.
Damn.
Number 3.
Heart.
Arnold Hale, an ex-soldier turned farmer who allegedly was attacked by a vampire years before, died while haying. After his death, people began to die in the surrounding area and it was widely believed that Hale had returned. The villagers uncovered his grave and saw that the corpse was undecomposed. Fresh blood had flowed from his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears, even new nails had grown. When a stake drove through his heart, he reacted by groaning and bleeding. Number 2. Jure Grando. In 1656, Jure Grando from Istria died due to illness, but after 16 years he returned from his grave and terrorized the villagers. On which door he knocked, someone from that house would die within the next few days. Jure's wife also claimed that he appeared in her bedroom and sexually assaulted her. One night the villagers dug up his coffin and found a perfectly preserved corpse with a smile on his face. After some exorcism and prayers, as the villagers sawed the head off the corpse, the vampire screamed and blood started flowing from the cut. Number 1. Peter Blagojevic. In 1725, a Serbian named Peter Blagojevic was died, and following his death, 9 other people died similarly within 8 days, and they claimed to have been throttled by Peter. Peter's wife and son reported seeing him after his death demanding for food. Both of them also died mysteriously. The villagers exhumed his body and found that the body was undecomposed. He was breathing and blood could be seen in his mouth. A stake was put through his heart, causing fresh blood to flow through the ears and mouth of the corpse.
Wow. You wonder how many people have died being claimed that they're vampires, you know, and then they also got to stick a thing through your heart. I mean, it's you know, it's hard to know what's true, what's not, you know, what's claims of a vampire, because you learn that people people are crazy nowadays. I guess people never grow out of being fucking crazy, right? I mean, look at this. Men were having affairs with women. And when they get caught, they burn the women to a tree saying they're a witch. They put a spell on them. I mean, my God, people are freaking crazy throughout the world. So that's what's the hardest part to trying to read these folklore stories, because of how crazy people are. You know, burning innocent women as witches, where technically it's the man that should have been burnt on that tree. Oh, honey, I didn't mean to slip myself all winter. She must be a witch. She put a spell on me. She put a love potion on me. She must be a vampire. You know, happens all the time. It happened all the time back in those days, and that's not saying we're any better nowadays. We still got a lot of fucking wacko people. I'll show you a picture of the 2 living vampires that we know for a fact that they're vampires. Look at these 2 guys. Come on. Come on, people. If those two are not vampires, then I don't know what is a vampire. Because those two should not be alive. They should not be alive today. They must be vampires. So what I'm saying is vampires do live among us. Because I'm telling you, those two are vampires. So that's the story. Yep. That's the fight. Yep. Yeah. Now we're gonna jump into UFOs right now. So let's get into some UFOs. Yeah, David Martin, I agree with you. They are not fit to be president. They're vampires. They have a spell on people. It's crazy. Now, guys, I was trying to find related stories of UFOs and vampires, but that's kind of hard to do. But I found this one. It's called UFO Encounter with RAF Vampire. Now, this is an old interview footage, but it's very interesting because it's in 1953. Okay, in 1953, Royal Air Force pilot Terry Johnson and navigator Geoff Smith discussed their 1953 UFO sightings. Now, this is a very old video. Okay, guys, this interview took place on a Tuesday, November 3rd, 1953, with two flight officers were flying in the Howlett Vampire Night fighter over Kent. So Holland Vampire Night. So there's your connection to this story with vampires. It has the word vampire in it. So I'm using it. So it is very old because this was filmed in 1953. And why I'm showing this is I know most people in the UFO community already know this story. But what's neat is UFO stories have been have been told throughout history. Even in 1953, when there's not this mass social media back then telling stories about the UFO experience. So when you watch this video, it's old, yes, but it's very cool that UFOs were being spoken of even back in the 50s, even when TV was around. Of course, even back in the Bibles and stuff. If you're in the Bibles, there's UFO stuff in the Bible. Here we go. An identified flying object. Okay, so West Malling, that's where they're going to do the interview.
Johnson and Smythe were interviewed for us by Brian Begg.
Flying Officer Johnson and Flying Officer Smythe.
I told you so.
Flying Officer Johnson first. Tell us exactly what had happened.
Well, the whole story began last Tuesday when we were flying in a Vampire night fighter over Kent and at 20,000 feet, and I first sighted this object. The first sighting was of a tiny pinpoint of bright light. My first impression was that it was a star shining through the overcast, and I looked around to see if there were any more stars, but obviously there weren't. And I continued watching this thing, and for about 15 to 20 seconds it remained stationary, neither moving left or right. After this time, the thing obviously was moving towards us, and before it reached the overhead position, I nudged my navigator, Flying Officer Smythe, to have a look up. By the time it got to the overhead position, it appeared to be moving at quite a fast, fantastic speed, and my impression of it, more or less a photographic impression, was of a round object, quite distinct outline, still with the same intense light, with the maximum light around or towards the periphery of the circle, not quite so intense in the center. The size, the only thing I can compare it with is the sun or the moon, and I had said that the size was approximately half to three-quarters of the size of the moon. Its height, well, there again, I haven't anything to compare it with.
There's no cloud on that day.
No, there's no cloud at all. The visibility was about 100 miles. From where we were, we could actually see the other side of the Isle of Wight.
And what about its speed?
Well, I can't give any indication of speed, as I can't give a true idea of the height. The only thing is I can say that the impression was of an object very much higher above us, and therefore, depending on height, would depend on the speed, but truly has a very fantastic speed in roughly the opposite direction.
Thank you very much. Well, flying off the Smythe, can we have your side of the story?
Well, I was rather busy at the time, and I didn't see anything until the pilot told me to look up. Well, when I looked up, I saw this bright object almost immediately overhead, going in the opposite direction with quite fantastic speed.
And could it have been any sort of meteorological instrument or balloon, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think so. We've gone into this business, we've argued it out amongst ourselves, and we haven't yet arrived at anything conclusive. I don't think it was a met balloon, we don't think it was another aircraft.
You're pretty used to seeing those.
I've seen quite a few.
Quite a few. Yeah. So what about your conclusions? You say you've drawn none. What did you think about this whole flying saucer story before you came across this one, or this event?
Well, up to this time, I was a confirmed skeptic, but now I think I have an open mind.
You're still open mind?
Just an open mind.
Right, well, thank you very much indeed.
RAF Intelligence Officer.
Okay, now guys, let's think about this. Let's think about this for a second. This UFO story, I did like, hold on a second, where is it? You know, sounds like so many of the UFO reported currently. But let's think about this.
Now investigating every...
Let's think about this. This is 1953. There ain't there ain't a lot of planes in the sky in 1953. And one of the pilots already said there was no balloons. It wasn't this, right? It is 1953. So it wasn't like you're going to get instant popularity because social media wasn't like it is now. In 1953, you know, you might only be seen on a local channel, or this story gets written in a newspaper. So it's not like you're thinking you're going to get instant fame by telling this story. In fact, a lot of pilots kept their mouths shut back in those days because, oh shit, look at that. It's Dr. Wu.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I just saw your notice. I just got up for a couple of times.
No problem. So in 1953, what did these two pilots... What I mean, if they were lying, it's harder to think that they're thinking they're gonna get a lot of fame from lying about seeing UFOs in the sky in 1953 when they don't have the massive social media like we have nowadays. Where, I mean, technically, I'm not saying pilots are lying nowadays, but I can see a pilot saying they see a UFO because they know their story is gonna be on Twitter, Instagram, it's gonna be on Facebook, YouTube, all these places. In 1953. 98% of them of people in the world, they didn't even have a TV. So, you know, could they be lying? Well, of course.
Yeah, well, they had the H.G. Wells, the H.G. Wells Attack of the Worlds. Remember all the aliens or whatever? So everybody was scared. No, it was not H.G. Wells. What's that guy's called? You know what I'm talking about?
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. Yeah. You know, they had everybody in a scare after that.
In Kubi. Oh, guys, I found another picture to prove to the world that Joe Biden is a vampire. Here's a cool picture that somebody made.
He's got a fake face. Yeah.
See? Our last two presidents are vampires because they shouldn't be alive.
Well, he's got a different nose. He's got in every other picture, his nose is different, and then his earlobes are attached to his face. But that's sign of a facelift. So, all
right, here it is. Okay, guys. Now, I could not find any more videos with UFOs and vampires connections. They're all stories that I found. So this one is just a regular UFO video by UFO Man's channel, and I tried to look for any connections with a vampire for UFOs, and I couldn't find any. But you know, I want 2 videos for UFOs, but this is pretty good. Actually, let me give you the name of this one. This is 2 of the 3 boomerang objects filmed over Buenos, Argentina. I'm sure there's a lot of vampires in Argentina, so let's just pretend that these vampires or these UFOs are flying over the vampires over there.
It's kind of creepy.
Hey guys, it's UFO Man. Here's a clip coming out of Buenos Aires, Argentina, dated April 28, 2022, of 2 objects that appear to be boomerang shaped. They sit in the sky for a short period of time, then they move off in tandem and disappear in the length of 1 frame. Take a look, make an assessment, let me know what you think.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That is pretty cool.
That's really good. I mean, that's not, I mean, nobody faked that because it's too cheesy. But yeah, those are, wow. That's crazy.
Here's a replay of the objects moving in tandem to the right and disappearing, along with 5 still shots run through different filters.
And guys,
take a look. Let me know what you think down below in the comments.
Always so good to see you here. Love it when you're here with us.
Whoa.
Hey, if you like the video, hit that.
And guys, right before we get into, I do have a vampire Mandela effect. So I do have one. But before before I get it, since we got Bob in here right now, and I know this was played earlier, but I'm going to show this video one more time for Bob. So a lot of people have seen this video. I apologize, but Bob has read part of his archaeology in college is to read Bibles. And I want to get Bob's point of view of the claim of one of the original vampire is Judas Iscariot.
Oh.
So let me play this video, and I want to get Bob's opinion on this. So I apologize if you guys already seen this video, but if you just came to this channel, this is the title of the show today. Of Judas. Was Judas a real vampire? So here we go. Bob, this is for you.
The vampire. We all know them. We've all seen or read at least one thing about them. But what is their origin? One of the largest debated theories of all the myths and legends. This is one. Judas Iscariot. We all know the story of him betraying Jesus for the 20 pieces of silver. But what we are not told is the second half of the story. There is a legend among the Hebrew people taken from the book of Matthew of a curse placed upon him by God as penance for his betrayal of Jesus. The story takes place the night after Jesus' crucifixion. Now, Judas, after seeing what he had done, tried to give back the silver to the holy men, but they refused. Judas pleaded with them, but got the same reply, no. To which he replied in kind by flinging the silver to the floor and exited. Later that night, Judas had decided there was only one thing he could do: to take his own life. Death by hanging. So that is what he did. He found a tree, tied a rope, and hung from that tree. But God would not allow this. So he resurrected him and told him these few things. Death will not be your relief, nor will the sun's rays. The silver that you betrayed my son for will now burn, a painful reminder of what you did. Water will never cross your lips again. The only thing that will is the blood of the innocent. But this will be a hunger that will never be extinguished. I know you will have many offspring, but they will bear the same curse as you. Now, the interesting thing about the story is the tree he hung himself from. The tree was an elder tree, which to this day has two names, Elder and Judas. Also, in the older vampire legends, wooden stakes do not affect them, but only silver. If you liked that story,
and hold on, and give me 1 second here. Let me get rid. No, I want to hold on. Let me get rid of this, and I want to share, Bob, what this says about what happened to it. Oh, okay, all right. Now, this is what it says here, Bob. Who turned Jesus into a vampire or whatever? The first true vampire came into being after Judas Iscariot betrays Jesus Christ for 30 pieces of silver. Judas hung himself from an aspen tree, but God cursed Judas so to walk the land forever with insatiable bloodlust, turning him into the original vampire. So, have you ever heard of that one?
Never, ever heard of
wow.
that.
Wow.
No,
completely. Never heard that.
That's completely new. You found one. You found a Mandela effect phenomenon change. That's new. Well, number one, Judas was he sold Yeshi for 13 silver coins in our time. You remember you and I ate at that restaurant, 13 coins?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was named after the famous 13 coins that Judas got. So now, though, that guy said 20, and then now I'm reading this here and it says 30. So
and even in this article, it says 30.
Yeah,
not just a video. So you could say that the video made a mistake, but they also wrote in here it was 30 pieces of silver.
30 pieces of silver. Yeah, it used to be 13. And he wasn't hung in no special. The elder tree, you know what that reminds me of? This place is a comic book. Reminds me of Dumbledore. Dumbledore is famous for what, dude? What's his wand made of?
Oh God, I forgot.
Elder wand, the elder tree.
Yeah. And
so they make magic wand. They used to in England. When I was in England, the elder trees were used to make wands. It's ironic that he'd mentioned he hung himself in an elder tree. Oh, I've never heard of that.
And what's weird is what I was saying earlier when I first showed the video, that I don't pretend to know a lot about the religion and the Bible, but if you're a religious person, I was saying that if this is a story there, then in a way, if you're a religious person, you gotta kind of accept that vampires are real, because according to the word, God turned him into a bloodlusting guy to walk the earth forever.
Wow.
So technically, under religion, God is the one who created the first vampire.
I got to look this up.
And I'm no religious expert, and I'm not trying to get into a religious war with anybody. I'm not. It's weird. I never heard, when I was looking at vampire origins, I never thought of Judas going to come up as considered as one of the origin. So that was kind of cool. But beyond that, guys, we're going to jump into the Mandela effect on a Mandela effect vampire of the movie Interview with the Vampire. Or is it Interview with a Vampire?
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
Luke, I am your father.
All right. This is actually going to be kind of a fun little video, especially for the people who are older. Because as of right now, if you go to IMDb, just to show you guys, the official name of the movie is Interview with the Vampire with Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and it's called Interview with the Vampire. But a lot of people remember it being called Interview with a Vampire. But this video I'm going to show you is they found this, if you want to say it's a residue, yes or no, it's up to you, of these two original critics that was on TV called Siskel and Ebert.
Yay.
And there's going to be a clip of Siskel and Ebert watching part of a trailer and them calling it Interview with a Vampire. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of a memory lane, because when I was a kid, if you want to see trailers or any kind of a critic, that was it. There was no YouTube. There was nothing. It was Siskel and Ebert. That was your two original social media TV movie interview or movie critics. So here it is.
Why always on this night?
What night? What do you mean?
You always give me a doll on the same night of the year.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Tom Cruise plays the immortal vampire Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, one of the new movies we're going to be reviewing this week. Tom Cruise plays the immortal vampire Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, one of the... Tom Cruise plays the immortal vampire Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, one of...
I haven't really shown you the best part of Interview with a Vampire, and... I haven't really shown you the best part of Interview with a Vampire.
So that is kind of memory lane for me, seeing those two guys. But I'm not saying that's 100% proof of those two movie critics, but they were calling it Interview with a Vampire. So the claims are, some people believe it was called Interview with the Vampire. And for me, man, I can't freaking remember. I truly can't remember. Now, of course, if somebody showed me the two titles, Interview with the Vampire versus Interview with a Vampire, I would have probably said Interview with a Vampire. It sounds more that you're talking to one person. You're talking to one person. But, it's up to you what you think to believe. But the movie Interview with the Vampire or a Vampire did something very interesting to prove to the world on how social media can be disgusting. It really was. And we guys like, what are you talking about? Well, when Interview with the Vampire was coming out, when it came out, and they announced the people who were in the movie, they announced that Tom Cruise was playing Lestat. And back in that day, people fucking hated. I mean, I'm serious. It was like the first hatred that you saw with any kind of social media, with emails, letters, phone calls. People hated that Tom Cruise was playing Lestat. Bob, you remember, people did they didn't even want to give it a chance. It was like one of those first movies that really show the evil side of what social media can do, of raising hate. And of course, when that movie came out, Tom Cruise was awesome. Tom Cruise, there's nothing wrong hiring talent. And it showed that people had to judge book by its cover, that people cannot be open-minded to different people playing different kind of movies. But the movie, in a lot of different ways, showed the true hatred of what social media can also bring. So was Interview with a Vampire or Interview with the Vampire, was that a clue to the world to say, this is really when social media really took the ugly side, when people really took to the keyboards, Yeah. So Bob, what do you remember for yourself? Interview with the Vampire or Interview with a Vampire?
I'll Interview with a Vampire, 1,000%, without question. It's like they put me on a lie detector machine or say, "Hey, walk off that cliff." I'll walk off the cliff. Interview with a vampire.
First floor audio. A good friend. He remembers with a vampire, so that's good. Lucan remembers. That's Andy, who played Andy Gambino, is the green little alien you guys see next to me over here. That's Andy Gambino. That's him right there. That's the green alien. You know. You know, he wrote sorry I'm late. We're filming for our ET CD documentary. That's awesome.
That's cool.
I love it when people make I love it when documentaries and stuff, and I love it when people who do even cartoons, documentaries, it comes from people like ourselves and not from Hollywood. It's good. Yeah. It's good to have that variety of stuff. So Cosmic Neighbors remembers with a vampire. Okay, see, there's a lot of people who remember the word a. Interview with a vampire is how he remembers it. Yeah. So, and Bob, do you remember when everybody was going fucking crazy because they hired Tom Cruise as Lestat? Do you remember that?
I don't remember much of that. I probably just wasn't paying attention. Well, wait a minute. This came out when 90s, right? It came out early 90s.
Let me look it up again. I took down the IMDb page, but I get it to a second. Let me tell you exactly when. Interview with not Comic-Con. My interview with Comic-Con is everywhere because of they just had a San Diego Comic-Con. Let me see here. Interview with the Vampire. Came out October 2nd. But what year? Hold on.
That's the important question.
Let's see. Somebody probably already wrote in the chat. What year was interview? And you know what's funny? Here? Can I show you this? I was typing that in, right? I was typing that in, and you know how it starts spelling the words for you?
Yeah.
Look. Even in you guys see that? Hold on. If you see that, the first I just typed in what year was, and it says interview with a vampire. Even Google is calling it with a vampire. I'm not saying that's a residue proof, but that's kind of cool, right?
Well, it's the algorithm. It's still in the computer. It's still looking for that. 94. Yeah, that's right. See, I was in the Navy. I was in the military. That's when. Yeah, you were at home. I was in Japan at that time, so I didn't see the movie until after it came out, like 2 years, like 96, 95, 96. I was getting caught up with all the television after 94. Right? I got out of the Navy in 95. So yeah.
If you take the last two numbers, 9 and the 4, it's 13.
13, and plus the 9 and the 1 is 10, so it's a 1-1-1-1-3. Actually, it'd be a 1-1-1-1-3.
Yeah. So that so guys, that's basically it. I have all for vampires for today, and I can't believe that I actually played a video and stumped Bob on what I thought he would know so much about. Well,
oh no, I gotta research that. That's fucking insane, dude. That is huge. Did you actually discover that? I mean, did you get the Judas thing, or you did that by accident? Just come across it today?
No, when I was setting up to do the show for Thursday, I was looking up origins for vampires, and I ran into where it said one of the origin stories is Judas Iscariot, one of betrayal of Jesus Christ. I'm like, what? I never heard of anything of a person who betrayed Jesus was considered a vampire. So I looked it up and I found the video. I'm like, holy shit, there is.
Wow. That is huge, man.
So I learned by finding origins for the story because I know there's different origins. And I was like, damn, I never knew that. I go, I bet you Bob knows this. And for a second, everybody, I was feeling stupid because I was like, man, I'm going to play this video and tell people I never heard this before. And I know I was thinking that everybody's going to say, everybody knows this, Eric. Everybody knows Judas. so
I never heard Judah. I never heard the word Judah and vampire in the same sentence, dude. Ever until you just said it. Wait, you're putting Judah and vampire in the same. Why are you putting Judah and vampire in the same sentence? Then we had that story. I'm like, no, I don't remember any of that. His death on the elder tree. What? Wait, what? What? Oh no, now I gotta go back. And even the stakes. You know, he was killed with a wooden, or you kill a vampire with a wooden stake. It was saying you have to use silver now, a silver stake instead of wooden stake. I don't know. I have to look all that up now. That's just crazy.
So I'll give you guys
wooden stakes from the elder wand tree. That's right, wooden stakes from the elder wand tree. I gotta look this up. I'm sorry, dude. It's crazy.
Let me give some fast updates, and then there'll be a show tomorrow. Of course, 10 a.m. people. Also, I've said that this Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, I will be doing a Jedi Sith Lord card reading with in my robe with Chad Smith. And the thing is about Saturday is for one reason. We're trying to raise money to be able to for sure to do try to get 2-3 more episodes locked in. Episode 3 of the cartoon that Bob himself is part of. He's the purple lavender alien who keeps on getting into trouble, and he's a little shit. And you're gonna see what kind of shit he got everybody into in the third one. And the third one is scheduled to be premiered August 10th. So August 10th is going to be the premiere date for August 10th. But the thing is, I don't want to stop there. I want to continue making some more. But unfortunately, these things aren't cheap to make. And if you got, so Saturday, I'm going to do card readings for donations. If you guys, and of course, if nobody wants to donate, you know, first, anybody's a member of the channel, like Unidentified S4 is a member of my channel. Donnie Cho is a member of my channel. I know Terry Down was in here earlier. I know Spooky Morales was in here earlier. They're all members of the channel. And of course, I will give you guys readings. I will give members readings for free, of course. But so don't think that I'm trying to charge people on purpose for a reading, but it's to help to get these cartoons created more, because I have a great storyline, which I need Bob to stay on after, because I want to pitch a storyline with Bob and for him to do some research and give me some input, because I got some crazy stories in my head. But beyond that, guys, I want to appreciate every single one of you for being here. I want to appreciate Bob for being here, and I just can't believe I can't believe I stumped him on one. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's new for me.
Now I'm ready. I'm excited now. When Bob goes on tonight or tomorrow night, he might bring up some Judas stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna research it today. That's my next show.
So beyond that, guys, I want to thank everybody for being here, and have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.